Thank you so much for joining. We'll start with the prayer. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Wonderful. Very, very excited to be with all of you. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Window. I guess this is the one. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So we are reading 4.38. This section is specifically talking about the spiritual master or guru who is needed in spiritual life and elaborating more on that part. So we'll start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Wonderful. 4.38. Nahi jnanena sadrisham
नहि ज्ञानेन सदृशं
pavitram iha vidyate
पवित्रं
Pavitram
Pavitram
iha vidyate.
Bhagavate
tat swayam yoga samsiddha
Tat
तत्स्वयं
Swayam Yoga Sansiddha.
Samsiddha.
kale natmani vindati.
कालेन
Kale Natmani Vindati.
Vindati.
Wonderful. Any volunteer for the translation? I don't have it on my screen.
I can read.
Go ahead, Supraja Mataji. Supraja Mataji.
In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time.
Thank you, Mataji. You see, what is one I wouldn't say problem, but one side effect of material education is it brings the pride. Persons who are highly educated, they have a lot of degrees and all that stuff. They most of the time they lack to develop the quality of humility. But what is the benefit of transcendental knowledge? And again, if it is taken in a right spirit, there are again the branches there on that one as well. When someone acquires a transcendent knowledge, they go actually on the path where they feel, oh, I know everything. One time, I don't know if I shared, excuse me. One time, one of the siddha. So let briefly define the siddha here, right? On the path of spirituality, When one practices nicely, there are fruits. Any, like, even if you put the seed, there are trees which comes with the fruit. And also same way, with the spiritual knowledge, there are the fruits of that knowledge. And one of them, which is considered to be highest, is siddhis. There are ashtasiddhis which are called, but I will not go into those detail. But the problem or the challenge with siddhis is that they are very intoxicating, I'll put it that way. How intoxicating? Like, I'll give you an example. A person can walk on the water. A person can close his eyes and move from one planet to another planet. So you can imagine the power. Now, a person like us, imagine if any of us have that. Oh, wow, great! I don't need to buy the Delta ticket to go to India and all that stuff. But more than that, people get intoxicated and they can't handle that, and that's the problem. So here, transcendental knowledge is here. The specific aspect is being covered is that is relished within. What does that mean is that transcendental knowledge actually gives such a bliss that one realizes, wow, there is nothing more sublime than that. So this is what is being spoken in verse 38, which is transcendental knowledge, which is sublime and pure, and is the mature fruit of all mysticism. Not it's the just not a regular fruit like I spoke about, but it's a mature fruit of mysticism. Like mangoes, when they are completely ripened, they taste really sweet. So what you see on this part, transcendental knowledge, which is a spiritual understanding. Ignorance is cause of bondage. Why are we struggling here? And we spoke about this term. It's not a new term for any of us. When we talk about ignorance, is basically not having the knowledge about Krishna consciousness. So that is the cause of bondage. So when transcendental knowledge brings you three things, actually for devotional service gives you a transcendental knowledge, that is part of it, and there are the three sections to that part, which is there is a mature fruit of all mysticism. It is sublime and pure and leads one to liberation. Now, in devotional service, when we talk about matured fruit, one is person engaged in devotional service enjoy peace within himself. That is what is mentioned in the translation. And such a person does not look for peace elsewhere. Whole world today is running behind things. My spiritual master said very beautiful line. I really like it. It's not easy to implement, but very important to contemplate on. He says the world is designed in such a way that one should love people and use things. That's the design, that we should love people and we can use things. But today's environment is completely opposite. We love things and use people. For an example, to achieve a certain position, one sometimes does not mind to actually put the feet on someone's head. Oh yeah, I want to reach hook or crook, I want to get there. And that's a crooked mentality. So when we come to the path of devotional service, this is a very deep statement that we should love people, not the things. We can use things to actually achieve things, but or achieve whatever we want in life. But when it comes to people, they get special treatment from that perspective. So what we see here, last word in Bhagavad Gita is talking about ultimately we want to bring it to knowledge and peace. So rather than searching for the peace outside, that person looks for the peace within. And that actually culminates into Krishna consciousness. So not just the knowledge, because knowledge is just theoretical, but when it is applied, the peace is experienced within the heart, and that actually culminates to Krishna consciousness altogether. You see, the beautiful picture here, variety of people, they are engaging. The purpose is clearly one, to serve Radha Krishna and his associates in Vrindavan. So whatever we do, it culminates the same goal. As long as the goal is clear, then there is harmony. But if the goal is not clear, then still, even on the path of spirituality, there may be disharmony. And it is proven many, many times in so many places. And that's the important point. So what is being discussed? We covered the translation. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentioned because he means nothing, such as going to holy places or austerity, purifies as much as knowledge. This knowledge which destroys all sin is not easily available for all people. Why it is not available for all people? Now, multiple aspects to that one. One aspect is that one does not look for that knowledge. How many of us before coming to Bhagavad Gita class, yeah, we could hear here and there, some of us, but we did not come with for the systematic study of Bhagavad Gita. That's one aspect. The second aspect is people think, oh, why do I really need this knowledge? At the end of the day, I have to learn how to earn money. And that's the other reason. And third reason is that even after people come to this knowledge, they do not understand the importance of that, and they continue whatever they were doing before, which actually defeats that purpose. So that knowledge is not easily attained by everyone, but is fully attained by practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga. We spoke about this on chapter 3. Nishkama means not expecting anything in return. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga. So one attains this knowledge automatically in time without effort. When through an intense practice of karma yoga he gets perfected, fit, and not otherwise. That's one path where we continue from the karma yoga and ultimately attain this transcendental knowledge. Or like we all doing, practicing bhakti yoga along with the transcendental knowledge together, which is being spoken here. Madhva Sampradaya, Lord Krishna praises the value of spiritual wisdom in this verse and next two. So these are three trio words from that perspective. In this process, what is the role of the Supreme Lord? Is he simply monitoring every activity from his position as Paramatma or the super soul within all living entities? Very important. One is Upadrishta, I think that's the term which is called as, which means he is the observer what everyone is doing. I shared many weeks back. I shared this example. One time, a guru gave all the students. He said, "Oh, you know what? I have mangoes for all of you." He gave nice mangoes to each and everyone. He said, "But one condition: you have to eat this mango where nobody is seeing you." So they went in all directions. Some hid behind the tree, some hid behind somewhere else, and all that stuff. So they ate the mango and they came back. But there was one boy who still had that mango. And the guru asked him, "Why didn't you eat the mango?" The student says, "My dear guru, you told me that I should eat at the place where nobody is seeing me. But the trees are always watching me. If the trees are not there, the sky is watching me. If it is day, then the sun is there. In the night, there is moon and stars there, the clouds there. And ultimately, Paramatma is there within my heart. Where would I hide from him?" And the guru was very impressed with this child. So, to the contrary, it is the Supreme Lord who illuminates the consciousness of living entities. This is very important. He's not a Upadrishta just watching what we are doing, but he is also helping us to go towards him. Again and again gives them the opportunity to learn about ultimate truth. My dear friends, I want to say this. It's not an ordinary thing from our perspective that, oh, we are here sitting and studying Bhagavad Gita. This is the arrangement of the Lord. He's arranging each and every one of us to come together and study Bhagavad Gita because He is loving us. He's a loving Father. He is awaiting for us. Why are we struggling so hard? And that is the beautiful aspect of the Supreme Lord which is being mentioned here. So that is what was the session 34. This was the last verse which we couldn't cover there. And now we are going to cover verse 39 and 40. Any questions or comments so far? Okay, I am going to quickly pull the next presentation here. Give me 1 second. I think, yeah. This is 35, 39 to 40. Okay. Can you all see my screen now? No.
Okay.
Not yet, not yet.
No.
Okay, give me 1 second. Slideshow. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. So we are now to the next section, which is talking about 39 and 40. These are important verses. What is talking about is after you achieve the transcendental knowledge through the lotus mouth of spiritual master, the wisdom is awarded to the faithful, not to faithless. At the end of the day, I go to the doctor and I have a disease and I go and get the medicine, but I don't take the medicine. So what is the outcome? Of course, I will not be cured because I'm not taking the remedy to get out of that one. So ultimate thing, which is not wisdom, ultimate thing is after I inquire, after I get the wisdom, I apply that. And what is the application? What is the byproduct of application is becoming faithful. We have a faith in what we are practicing, not that we are blind faith following that, oh yeah, because this person said I'm following it. No, it has to be understood clearly. So that's the section which is being spoken about. Oops, looks like I opened the same presentation again. Give me 1 second. I have to see Gita with the Sindhu. Give me 1 second. Read only. Oh, Krishna, give me 1 second. Name. Let me see. 33, 30, 420, 430, 439. Give me 1 second. Looks like I had that. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to find that out. Sorry about that one. So we are covering 39 and 40. Okay, I got it. I'm going to open that. Okay. I have that now, and I'm going to share this slide, and I'm going to come back here and share it here. You can see my screen. Is that right now? Is that right? You can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Give me 1 second. This is, yeah, verse 39. Just few slides based on the previous presentation we talked about, which was 38. The matter cannot budge 1 inch without the spirit activating it. We were talking about upadrishta, the Paramatma who is watching. Anything which we do, there has to be a force behind it to actually activate that stuff, which is the spirit. Even if we say we have self-driving car, but still there is a person, there is a um, driver associated with that one. So there is a spirit behind that, like the operator behind the bodily machine and the operator behind the cosmic machine. The best example is bodily machine. You can't defy you cannot defy that logic relevant to whatever generation we would be living in, because at the end of the day, behind body can only run as long as there is a soul within that. And that's an important aspect which we need to understand. In Bhagavad Gita 7.4, which is further down the line, we are going to discuss this part. Generally, one does not know the science of God, which is Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and that the living entities are the Puranas, the causes. I think there is some typo there because of the font issue. Controller and enjoyer of the material energy. What is the problem with that? We think we are the doer and we are the controller, and we reap the fruits of it, which means the suffering comes with that. So we want to be in control of money, situation, and people around us as per our wish without anybody's interference. That is called as happiness in today's world, right? So you see these funny pictures, but what is being spoken about in Bhagavad Gita 7.5, energies are always controlled by energetic, in relation to the last two slides from that perspective. Therefore, the living entities are always controlled by the Lord. When I say control, I wouldn't say from that negative terminology saying that, oh, you know what, I'm just being a robot. Not really just like that. They have no independent existence. They are never equal powerful as unintelligent men think. So whatever we are able to achieve is by the mercy of the Lord. I cannot say just because I am the one who receives. And who was discussing, I don't know where I was hearing, for anything to be successful, there has to be a right place, and there has to be right person, whom we are dealing with, then only we will get the good results. There are three causes for that. Krishna speaks there in the same chapter. We'll talk about it. The Supreme Lord Krishna is the only controller, and all living entities are controlled by him. As long as we become the cooperator, everything works in harmony. The moment we think about being a competitor, that's where the problem lies. So Krishna's another name is Jagadish, which is Jiva and Jagat. He controls the Jiva, which means living entity. Jagat means this entire material world. I'm going to skip this one and come to 4.39. Can you follow along? Shraddha Valabhate Jnanam
Shraddhavara
Shraddhavala
Tatpara Samaye Trindriyaha
Tatpara satatindriya
Jnanam Labadva Param Shantim
Jnanam Labadva
Jnanam
Param
Shantim
Achirena Digachati.
Vachirena
Gachati.
Digachati.
Thank you. Any volunteer for translation, please?
I can read.
Go ahead, Mataji.
A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So, not just by reading the transcendental knowledge, I'm just going to go to this translation and come back to that one. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge. So, one sincerely tries to understand this transcendental knowledge. And along with that, what is a practical aspect of? He subdues his senses. When I say subdues his senses, which means engages his senses in Krishna's service, is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. So not just he realize that knowledge, but he gets the result of that knowledge as well. Just realization comes, of course, after applying that knowledge, but he ultimately receives the spiritual peace from that perspective. So this is what is spoken. How can acquire transcendental knowledge? The faithful with dedication and sense control. These are the three things. One needs to have a faith, one needs to have a dedication, and third is one has to have sense control from that perspective. So faithful, which is being spoken on the left, one who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness one can attain the highest perfection. This is very interesting because Krishna consciousness is a subtle process. It's not a physical process where you can see. For an example, when I go and give an exam in material education, I get the result and I understood what happened there. But spiritual knowledge is not like that. You can experience the result and you have to see it. You have to experience that. And sometimes the other people can also experience and tell you, oh, you may feel, yeah, I'm not growing in path of devotional service, but other person have ability to see that how you are transformed, which is very different from material education, which is proving out the value. So how to attain the faith is by performing devotional service. What you see here, different kind of devotees performing in different way. Someone is cooking for the Lord and offering to the Lord. Someone has become pujari. Someone is chanting. Someone is doing kirtan on the street. So that they are all equal from that perspective, right? Because chanting, which is mentioned here, cleans material dirt from the contaminated heart. What is the purpose of human life? I was just reading my spiritual master quote, is to cleanse the heart, which is filled with so many unwanted things, which keeps us bound in this material world. And who can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay? One who is faithful to Krishna. Whatever happens, I will not give up. Like, I don't know how many of us remember here, but when we get married, um, the brahmanas come and recite the slokas, and then we do the parikrama around Agni. And he actually recite the slokas. Some of us may not even know what is the meaning of it. At least I did not know. But one of that is that I take a vow that for both husband and wife, that I take a vow that I am going to stay with my partner in whatever situation it is, whether happiness or in sad, I'm going to stay together. So there is a commitment there in any relationship. As a parent, also there is a commitment. You don't sign the contract, of course, like you do for the employment, but you still sign the contract in front of Agni that yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And same way when mother takes the responsibility, a parent takes the responsibility for the child. So that is actually a contract that I'm going to be faithful to you, and one who has control over the senses from that perspective. So that is the first part. In the translation we already covered, I'm going to directly go to the purport. Who can attain this knowledge? A faithful person, and one who controls the senses. Who is faithful person? One is called faithful man or woman who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness one can attain the highest perfection. And how to attain faith? By the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, which seems to be a very simple activity but extremely powerful because it cleans the dirt, material dirt from the heart. What you see on the right hand side are great personalities actually. Um, one specifically being spoken about Pandavas on the top. What is their dedication? What is their faith? How much they went through from their childhood until they became king. They went through so many difficulties, but they never left their faith on Krishna. And what is their position is that Krishna is their nephew, Krishna is their cousin, who's the supreme personality of Godhead, who controls all this material energy, material nature, who controls everyone. So they could ask, my dear Lord, you are our cousin, you are our relative, why don't you help us here? Why are we struggling? The help was there, but in a different format, which actually help them to be nourished within the heart, not externally only. And that is an important aspect. And you see here a blind person who was singing the glories of Krishna. Who is that? Surdasji. And there is another pastime as well, Bilva Mangal, very similar, but Surdasji, he's materially blind. He can't see anything of this material world. But he is enjoying that bliss within, where he can see the darshan of Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani at every moment and remain faithful on that part. So many examples on this faith. So before knowledge is attained, one has to follow the way of action alone for purification. After knowledge is attained, there is nothing performed by the person. One attains liberation because the transcendental knowledge is so purifying. So irrelevant of whatever varna we could be, whether we are Brahmana, we are Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras, most of us belong to the fourth category. Um, we apply this knowledge in our life based on our position. Earlier times, and I'm sure some of you may be already aware of that, they would in the villages they would come together and discuss Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning and Bhagavad Gita in the night. And this was something really common. In fact, I remember many years back, I don't know what year was that, 2005 somewhere, 2006. I got married in 2006, so somewhere that time. There was a movie which was released called as Swadesh. In that movie, they showed actually that the villagers were performing Ramayan drama. Just remembered right now, just thinking about it. Very professionally done, and they were performing the drama of Mother Sita being stolen and how Lord Ram attacks Ravana and kill. That was the culture we had before actually, where people will come together. What is our situation? We don't have even time to eat prasad or 2 3 meals. People are just running on the go, eating and everything. We don't have even time to spend time with each other most of the time. But there during those times people will come in the village and they would actually come together and discuss these topics from Bhagavad Gita, from Ramayana, from Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, to enlighten each other, to remember the purpose of life is not to do anything else. Then of course we need to maintain the body, but that's not the goal of life. Goal of life is to always remember Krishna and remember his pastimes, Lord Ram's pastimes. That is what is nourishing. That's the important part which is being spoken about. Any questions or comments before we move to verse 40? Any reflections so far? Okay, let's read verse 40. Ajnas Shastra dadanascha
Shastra.
samshayatma vinashyati
Samshayatma
Samsayatma
Vishyati
Vanastati.
nayam lokosti na paro
Nyayam
Na
Lokos Paro
Lokostina
Paro
Paro.
na sukham samshayatmanaha.
Nasukam Samshayatmanaha.
Thank you, beautiful. Any volunteer for reading the translation, please?
Uh, I can go, Prabhuji.
Hmm.
But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next.
Very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you for reading. Remember this past time there was a person who was going in a boat in a river, and there was a storm which came. Um, and it was a severe storm. He realized he's about to lose his life. He practiced dharma in his life. He started calling out various devatas. First, he called Lord Shiva. Then, then he got really this. Oh, he's not responding. Let me go to the next one. So he called out Kartikeya. Didn't hear back the response because he was, oh, they should respond my prayer really quick. Then after that, he went to Parvati, praying Parvati, Parvati. Then he called Ganesha, and then he called Ganesha. Nothing happened. Unfortunately the storm. It's a fun. It's a joke actually. So the storm was severe, and this guy was about to sink. Now he was about to die, and at the time he had this. He heard this voice from Ganesha. For every Ganesh Visarjan, you drown me in the water, and you come and ask me that I'm going to help you here. So that's the joke. Sorry if I didn't say it correctly, but the idea is that for a faithless person who doesn't have a faith, there is no happiness in this world nor next, because that person doesn't have a faith on this thing, whether this is going to work, whether this is, I don't know if you've seen, but I've seen few people in my life who don't have faith. They struggle, they don't continue further, because people who have a faith, they can continue anything longer. But person who doesn't have a faith, it's very difficult for him to or her to continue on one place. They just, oh, I don't know if this is going to work, I don't know if this is going to, so they never trust on anything. And this verse is very beautiful, speaking elaborately on that. Faithless cannot attain the perfection of God consciousness. No sinful reaction can affect one who performs his duty with transcendental knowledge. Very beautiful point. No sinful reaction can affect one who performs his duty with transcendental knowledge. I will say this line, very beautiful, quoted, I think, by my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, I don't remember. The pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. I'll repeat. The pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. What do you think is the meaning of that?
I think
Anyone?
everybody gets a problems, but how you deal with the problem, whether you get emotional and do damage to yourself is your own option.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Any other comments or reflections on this line?
So basically, suffering is the response that you
Ah,
give to the
yes,
situation. So how you
yes.
respond to anything that's at the table for you.
Very beautiful. Exactly. Everyone, irrelevant of whoever we are, because this material will, like, there is a swimming pool. Any person who's in the swimming pool is going to be wet. There is zero doubt about it. Similar way, in the material world, there is going to be suffering, there is going to be pain, which is injected by based on our activities. But when I say, sorry, I just said the other thing, the suffering is optional. How I react to that makes the difference. There is one example in this. Gandhiji. Gandhiji was going in a boat, and there was one guy who was very envious of Gandhiji. So he wrote a lot of ill words in the paper while in the boat, and then tie it and gave it to Gandhiji. and then went and sat on his place. Gandhiji opened, read the letter, threw the letter, and there was the paper pin. We call it as, I don't know, is that the right term or whatever it is. He kept it in the pocket. So that person who actually wrote all those ill names, he got more agitated because his intention was he is going to agitate the other person, in this case Gandhiji, who is the reader of Bhagavad Gita. But what Gandhiji did, he took what was the best out of it, put it in his pocket, and removed the rest which was not needed. And this is where the response is important, how we are responding to the situations. Very important. I struggle on that. I must confess on that part. So what is being mentioned here is that different categories of disqualified people. One, which is on the right hand side, were those who have no faith and is always doubtful, make no progress at all. Hey, whether this is going to work, whether I'll go to the doctor, somehow get an appointment, get there, pays, use some more money. Hey, I don't know his medicine is going to work or not. Gone. On the left hand side, what is the solution to success? Sorry, let's finish the right hand side first. So different categories of this. So what is the first part? Persons who are almost like animals, have no faith or knowledge of standard revealed scripture. Even if they have knowledge or can cite passages from the revealed scripture, have actually no faith. I want to elaborate a little more on that real story. My spiritual master, I guess I would have shared also, but just want to bring that in. My spiritual master would go to Ohio University to preach when he was living here in New Vrindavan, West Virginia. So they wanted to actually approach universities, and they wanted to open the classes in universities so that the spiritual knowledge can be spread at a much younger age than later. So he went to one of the university. I forgot the name of the university at this moment. So he approached various professors, and they all were interested. But they said, for any classes to happen, you will have to talk to our dean, who is actually the head of religious department, and he has to approve. So this person was extremely popular. He was double PhD on the religion, and he would actually speak in various churches, and when he would speak, thousands of people would come. So my spiritual master went to him and discussed with him. So they were discussing for a couple of hours, and then time went off, and the professor said, why don't you come tomorrow? I want to still continue debate. So next day, um, my spiritual master went, and then this guy was taking a sun bath with the lamp, sun lamp or whatever is that. I don't know that concept. And then he said, let's discuss. He said, my spiritual master said, first you wear some clothes, and then, then we are peaceful, then we can discuss about those things. So they started discussing, and actually my spiritual master defeated all his arguments. So at that point, this person who was actually the preacher who wrote many, many books on the name of religion, he said, you know what? I don't believe the God exists. So my spiritual master said, where did you read that? He said, I've been studying this for so many years. I can't understand. I don't believe that. First and foremost thing, he said, I can't understand your God is God. And then ultimately at the end, he said, I don't think so the God exists. This professor's name was Mr. Maybe. So anyway, he said, now even if I don't accept that if God exists, whether you speak or you don't speak doesn't matter. So I'll give you permission to give the classes. Why am I bringing this point? Even if they have knowledge or can cite passages from the revealed scriptures, have actually no faith. Because faith is what Krishna gives when someone sincerely practices the path of bhakti. The faith is awarded. You cannot gain it by yourself. So that is the result of when one practices bhakti sincerely. Even if they may have a faith in scripture, they do not believe it or worship the supreme personality of Godhead, which is so much spread in India. So many devatas, so many worships. New and new devatas are also being manufactured. No idea. And the other side, what is the solution to success? Follow the principles of revealed scripture with faith and rise to the platform of knowledge. Only this knowledge will promote one to the transcendental platform of spiritual understanding. Follow in the footsteps of great acharyas who are in the parampara and attain success. If I'm hungry, how do I know whatever I ate giving me nourishment? When you eat, you feel the experience. Yeah, I'm full. I think I was hungry, and after eating that, I feel I'm nourished. I feel strong. Especially after Ekadashi or after Nirjala Ekadashi, when you drink or when you eat, you feel the experience. Nobody else have to say that, oh, you're not weak anymore. You experience it from within. Similar way, Krishna consciousness is like that. Nobody has to give you a proof for that one. You experience from within how your life has changed, how you have become a different person in a better way, how you see the same situations differently than how you were observing before. Changes the whole game altogether. So Baladev Vidyabhushan writes in the translation, Rika already covered that, but the ignorant person is like an animal with no knowledge of scriptures. So, if what is the uniqueness about human life? Not eating, mating, sleeping, and defending, not identifying a way to better eat, to better sleep, to better mate, or better defend, but to actually inquire about the absolute truth. Otherwise, that person is none other than animal. So, who perishes? The ignorant and the faithless. The person who, in spite of having knowledge of scripture, have no faith, since he has a quarrelsome nature. Ramanujacharya writes, the faithless are one who has no faith in developing this knowledge taught to him, that who does not strive to progress quickly. Those are the faithless people who, for them, it is a lot of friction to actually move forward. Srila Prabhupada writes, some even though they have knowledge or can cite passages from, even have actually no faith in these words. They may have faith in Bhagavad Gita, but do not believe in a worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead. They think that this is just the book to worship, just keep it there. It is part of our library, rather than actually understanding this is a Bible of my life, this is the manual of my life. Very important part which is being defined here. That person is doubting. What you see on the right hand side, the Brahman and the cobbler, very nice story actually. I'll share the story. So one time Narada Muni was going, and he has a business of walking around. So he came to one Brahmana. Brahmana offered his obeisances, and he asked Narada Muniji, Narada Muniji, where are you going? He said, yeah, now I'm going to Lord Vishnu after this. So he said, okay, can you ask the question? I've been practicing my life properly, spiritual life properly. Can you ask Lord Vishnu, when will I come and see him in the spiritual world? Narada Muni said, sure. Then after that, Narada Muni was on the way. He saw a cobbler, a very simple-hearted cobbler. Narada Muni and cobbler asked him, my dear Lord, I'm so grateful that I have your darshan. Um, I want to know in what life, when will I actually get to see the darshan of my Lord? Narada Muni said, okay. So Narada Muni went to Lord Vishnu, and he glorified Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu said, you have any questions? Narada Muni said, I actually on the way, I met this Brahmana and I met this cobbler. Both of them had this question, when will they be able to see your beautiful darshan? So Lord smiled. He says, go to that Brahmana and tell him it will take 100 lifetimes for him to come to me. Narada Muni, okay. How about the cobbler? So Lord said, tell the cobbler he will get to see me in my next life. Really? But I don't understand. Lord said, why don't you go and pass on this message? So Narada Muni went to this Brahmana. Brahmana said, offered obeisances to Narada Muni. He said, welcome back. Did you get chance to talk to Lord Vishnu? Did you ask my question? Yes. What did the Lord say? Well, the Lord said it will take 100 lifetimes for you to come back to spiritual world. Really? 100 lifetimes? I'm doing so great in spiritual life. I know everything. And I preach so many people. Why would it take 100 lifetimes? I think you are lying. You did not go to Lord Vishnu. Okay, let me ask you this question. What was Lord doing? And before Narad Muni came from Lord Vishnu, Narad Muni was asking. Lord Vishnu said, okay, when they ask you the question, you ask them that I was trying to pass the elephants from the hole of a needle. So he asked Narada Muni, so what was Lord Vishnu doing? He said he was trying to pass the elephant from the hole of the needle. So this Brahmana started laughing. I knew you did not go to Lord Vishnu. How can you pass elephant from the top of the needle, from the hole of the needle? I knew it. You don't know it. Anyway. So Narada Muni understood and he went to the cobbler. And he went to the cobbler, and cobbler offered obeisances and glorified Narada Muni and asked, did you get the answer? He said, yes. He said, you will go to him in this lifetime, after this lifetime only. Oh, great. But can I ask you, what was my Lord doing at that time? Yeah, he was trying to pass the elephant from the hole of the needle. Wow, my Lord is so great. He's so great. Within a seed, he has baked in a big tree. And in that tree, there are hundreds and thousands of more seeds. And again, each and every seed can give birth to so many trees. Again, more fruits come in just in the seed. What is impossible for him? I'm sure what is such a big deal for him to pass the elephant through the hole of the needle? What do you think is the result of the story?
It shows who had faith.
Hmm.
Like the cobbler who had faith in God, that's why he was able to accept the response, whereas the Brahman could not accept the answer.
Very nice. And what other things you can infer from this story?
I think it's the ego and the arrogance. The Brahmin thinks that
Hmm.
what he knows is the knowledge, and anything beyond our perception is ridiculous. Whereas cobbler thinks that there are things beyond our perception and understanding, and that's where the impossibilities happen, and that's where the the divine knowledge or takes a higher place.
Very beautiful. Both these points are really nice. Anybody
And
else has other perspective?
I have one more thing to
Please.
add. I think the Brahman was doing something, thinking he will get something in response.
Uh-huh. Very nice. Okay. Any other perspectives? Anything else anyone wants to add here?
I think the Brahmana was expecting to hear that, maybe in this life itself he'll get moksha rather than wait for 100. So he could not understand as to why he has to take another 100 births.
Yeah, very nice. All these points are really beautiful. You nailed it down, all of you. Thank you so much. When we talk about the faith, faith is not dependent on preconditions. And ultimately, reading a bookish knowledge, this is the other point, versus the realized knowledge. The faith is not dependent on the knowledge, which is an important part. So one needs does not need to go to the college and universities to build the faith. Faith is the byproduct of having a genuine practice. This cobbler, though not a qualified brahmana, but practicing a genuine spiritual life, which made him qualified to attain that faith, versus this brahmana who's reading scriptures but does not try to apply or understand it, lack that faith, and which is what is being spoken here. So this is talking about. Sorry, any comments here?
I was just gonna say that, I think when we talk about faith and trust, faith is a belief or the conviction, right? So we could say that,
I'm
yeah, we
looking
have
quick.
a faith,
Hmm.
but how you convert that faith,
Hmm.
or how you act based on that faith is the trust. Like usually we give that simple example, right? They predicted that in a village there was no rains at all, and then somebody said, hey, tomorrow it's going to rain.
Hmm.
That was a prediction, and
Hmm.
everybody plans to assemble tomorrow, the next day, to see if it's going to really rain.
Hmm.
Everybody comes there, but there is this little kid who comes, he's the only one who comes with an umbrella.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's a usual example a lot of people give. So basically, everybody has a faith that it's going to rain, but he really trusts that it is going to rain, and then he brings the umbrella.
He had the conviction. Very good point. Yes, Manaji. There was, I remember another pastime in connection with this. There was a scientist who went to a village. In this village, the farmers were working. So this farmer, rather than having tractor and all, he had bulls to actually work on the field. So one time, the scientist came to the farmer. You know what? So you use the bullock. How do you know if they are working? Just making sure. So he said, I have the bell in the neck of the bull. So I get to hear, um, as long as the bull is moving, I get to hear the noise and I understand she is working. I don't have to stand on top of it. So the scientist asked this question: how about if the bull is standing at one place and rotating her head like that? That will also make a bell noise. Anybody knows about this story? What would be the response of the farmer here? You got the point, right? Am I making sense or no?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Just wondering.
Yeah. The farmer said, she's a simple bull. She's not a human like us. Did you understand the gist of it? Did you follow me?
Yep.
Yeah. She's not trying to escape the way we think of.
We think we are smart people and we try to weigh around things. Again, this is example which is spoken with the bull and the man, but what we are talking about actually is the consciousness. This is what I was mentioning about. This is the consciousness between a faithful and unfaithful person. A faithful person does not do a way around. How do I get out of it? Let me do a shortcut. That's an important part from that side. This means he deviates from his own interest because of his doubt. This doubtful person does not have happiness from gross world or the next world. Happiness is generated from actions prescribed by scripture. The action is accompanied by knowledge of the individual Atma. Where is that happiness for one who has doubts about attaining the goal? Hey, will it happen? One another pastime. Srila Prabhupada was asked by a reporter, Swamiji, you have been practicing this cult process of bhakti and you have been preaching. I have a question. How about at the end of your life, you get to know there is no Krishna? What will happen at that time? Srila Prabhupada paused and he said, you know what? My whole life, I had a blissful life. I chanted, danced, and have wonderful prasad. Not like a two-meal prasad, the 56 items and all that stuff on every festival. I had a blissful life, but I have a question for you. When you are on deathbed, you are dying and you get to know, yes, there is spiritual life, there is a spiritual world, and there is Krishna. What will you do? This reporter was mum. She did not have any answer for that. This is the destination of unfaithful people. At the end, we realize, oh man, I just lost it. One should therefore follow the principles of revealed scripture with faith and thereby be raised to the platform of knowledge. One should therefore follow in the footsteps of great acharyas who are in disciplic succession and thereby attain success. A very important part which is being spoken here. So, next session, which is going to be verse 41 and 42, we will have it next week. Can we quickly summarize what we discussed today?
I think the faith we cannot develop it for somebody. It has to come from on its own. Like you cannot teach someone to have faith. It has to come. They themselves should feel that they need to have faith.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like you can spread knowledge, but you cannot spread faith. It has to
Yeah.
come from within.
Yeah. Knowledge can be attained, but faith cannot be attained automatically. It has to be rewarded. Very nice, Mataji. Thank you. And how can one develop faith? We said it cannot be attained automatically, but there has to be some steps taken for that, right? What are those steps?
We need to know what, like
The
we need to find,
dedication.
yeah,
Chanting, doing service.
and finding a right spiritual master
Yeah,
who
yeah,
can give us guidance.
correct. And then when we
That
achieve,
gives the control to the senses.
yes, one controls the senses. So what is, you attain transcendental knowledge? Again, we want to have a faith. You gain the transcendental knowledge. And whom should we get this transcendental knowledge? Not from a person who does not have a faith, because faith is transferred from one heart to another heart. Very important point I forgot to mention. So when you come in contact with someone who has a faith, you come in contact with that person, that faith is transferred from the heart of this person to you. So you acquire. And how do you, how this person is willing to do that? Because you hear the transcendental knowledge and you try to apply that. Paramatma within the heart of that person transfers that faith, excuse me, to the heart of the disciple or a follower. And what is the outcome of the faith, which is what we discussed a couple of verses back? One, be peaceful and experience happy within the heart. Not that he has to do it, he or she has to do it outside. It is the, it is the transformation of the heart which happens. This is the experience one experience in the heart. Like love is not at the intellectual platform, love is the byproduct of heart. You can't explain it in technical terms, whatever you want. It is just the way of way of exchange which comes from the heart, not from the intellectual. Oh, you know what, it's time I have to say her I love you. It doesn't happen like that. It comes from the heart naturally. For an example, you are very hungry. Someone comes and gives you chappan bhog or gives you, you know, 6 course meal. Gratitude, it comes from the heart. Not that you have to externally say thank you. That is different platform. But you feel grateful within the heart, and that's how it comes in. Very nice. What other things we discussed?
Um, what I kind of understood is we've been talking about Nishkama Karma Yoga, right? So basically, without any doing something without any
Yeah,
expectation.
yeah.
Yeah, but it also means that we have to do our part, whatever is needed. We
Mm,
need to have a dedication
yeah,
to do our part,
yeah.
and then so that is in our control. So whatever we can do, our participation is in our control. Whether
Mm,
that results in a positive or negative, that's out of our control. That you
mm,
cannot control. So I think that's where the what we call the transcendental knowledge, right?
mm,
Understanding that what is in your control and
yeah.
what you can do with dedication, you are putting your 100%.
Yes.
But whether it's going to happen the way you want to happen is probably not in your control, because there are various other factors in
Yes.
universe that come,
Yes.
as you said, right time, right place, and everything, right?
Mm, mm,
So and at the same time, if you have the transcendental knowledge and if things don't go your way, you got to move on and
mm,
not be depressed or go haywire or lose faith or lose
yeah.
trust, but
Yeah.
say that, move on, maybe this was not meant for me, move on,
Yeah.
maybe the next one.
Correct.
And that basically is our response,
Mm,
which avoids the suffering or the
yeah.
the depression or whatever it might cause,
Mm,
right?
yes.
So that's what
100%.
moves you forward. And that's where this whole thing, Nishkama Karma Yoga, and how the transcendental knowledge helps you to respond to those situations and let you move forward with trust and faith.
100%. Very beautiful call out. When Dhruva was a 5-year-old boy, 5 year, how can 5 years will offer prayers? When he was touched by the conch of Lord Vishnu, he started reciting beautiful prayers. Did he read in the school? No. Did he learn from his previous life? No. This was instilled by Lord just by touching his conch because he had tremendous faith. Also, the other point which I want to end with is we also covered for faithless person, the happiness is not there in this world also, in the next world also. He cannot live, he or she cannot live peacefully in this world. And there is definitely not a great destination awaiting for him or her. So faith is the byproduct of transcendental knowledge, but one has to practice that path. And we spoke about the example of a cobbler and brahmana, which is important part here. Any other comments or reflections before we end?
You said a very nice point, Prabhuji. The only when we are faithful, the transcendental knowledge is granted as a blessing.
Mm,
It cannot be acquired, right? And there is also one Sanskrit shloka that I used to hear often. I was
mm.
searching for it, where Lord Krishna says, "Dadami buddhi yogam."
I
So I
give
think
that
very similar
intelligence.
to that. I think.
Yes, exactly. No, it's very not the exact thing.
Uh,
He awards that knowledge. When the land is fertile,